Hey YouTube, I'm Kenneth Ryan.
I'm Linz.
And we're back with another exciting episode of Fanfiction Friday, where we are reading what today?
Invasion Force by Obscure Enough.
That. I was just informed that this is a Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Harry Potter crossover, with the pairing being Alexander Harris and Professor Snape. I'm going to be Snape, she's going to be Xander, and we are going to stake wand our way. Yeah, stake wand our way into this one.
I don't feel like using voices for Xander. I mean, I could.
But Xander's so whiny.
Snape scowled at the visitors. The Watchers Council had invaded their summer peace, and the heads of house and all professors had been recalled to deal with them. The theory was that these Americans had abilities that would help in the war against Voldemort and his Death Eaters, but Snape had his doubts. None of them, not one of them, had any capabilities in wand and magic, but instead relied upon a form of earth magic that was not even whispered about amongst the wizarding community. Dumbledore hadn't even discussed this visit with the Ministry, but had simply and quietly invited these, not muggles precisely, but they certainly weren't wizarding folk either. Okay, he invited them. The Slayers, and both of the oldest Slayers had come, were possibly magical creatures. Snape wasn't quite sure, while most of the remaining visitors used some variant of their earth magic. Yes, all except one could be classified as something other than muggle. That Watcher, though, Harris, he of the green and brown eyes, and the tendency to growl at those that angered him, and the sudden head tilts when something caught his attention. Harris the Predator. He has this... The hyena is still kind of hanging around. Not quite like in the
Okay!
Harris, the very scary muggle. Snape stalked down the halls, wondering how much longer he was going to have to put up with these intruders. Certainly it wasn't a good idea to make connections with the new version of the Watchers Council, but why did they have to come here, to the school? Why did they have to put up with all these chaotic, loud children masquerading as serious adults?
That literally was... This
is me, okay. I know a vampire that broods nearly as much as you. An amused voice broke into his musings.
Watcher Harris, Snape sneered. May I help you? The dark-haired Watcher grimaced as he pushed off from the wall.
Buffy, Slayer Summers, I guess, he smirked, might just do the blonde thing and take you at your word right when you least want her to. So you really probably shouldn't do that. If you're not careful, you'll end up at the local store picking up chocolate, ice cream, and stuff you really don't want to think about. Tampons.
Fine, Snape growled. What do you want, Harris? Xander smirked again and prowled forward. He waited until he was almost touching the wizard before speaking.
The Predator? Okay. Well, what I want is something for another conversation. Hopefully very soon. What I thought might be helpful, though, was to tell you to lighten up. See, someone like you becomes a challenge to a lot of my people. They poke and tease until they get you to break. And believe me, tougher men than you have broken. Snape snorted.
I think I shall take leave to doubt that. He cocked his head thoughtfully. So what is it that you wanted? He asked, regretting his curiosity almost immediately. Xander leaned forward so that his lips almost touched Snape's.
That's just really close. You whispered.
Oh.
Snape snarled as this is a time jump. There's a line break. Snape snarled as he threw another hex at the laughing man. Like all the rest, it flew past the dodging man and impacted harmlessly on the floor. Part of him wanted to proclaim that it just wasn't fair.
That's magic.
But this was a muggle, someone devoid of magic, and if they had developed other skills to help them fight a wizard, then that was probably a very good thing. Another part of him thought it was like watching some kind of dance. Xander twisted and pivoted, dashed and leapt, and was everywhere but where he had been when each curse had left Severus's wand. His athleticism was amazing, as was his stamina, and it was a shock when his wand hand was grabbed in an iron grasp and turned away. Before he could draw breath to protest, a strong arm wrapped around his waist to pull him closer, and, Surprise, instinct, or both caused him to grab at Xander's bicep so that they stood in a parody of a waltzing couple.
Oh my god.
This is like the whole sup babe.
Oh no.
Except not sup babe. And he's
this
got
is
him by the
Snape and Xander.
Well, you knew it was a pairing.
I know.
They stood chest to chest, Xander grinning and panting slightly, and Snape staring into those odd, variegated eyes. I've read the word, but I've never actually pronounced it out loud, so I hope I said it right. Green and brown eyes that never failed to startle crinkled at the edge as Xander smirked and tilted his head. So, do I get my prize now? Xander asked huskily. Snape swallowed to clear a suddenly dry mouth.
What? What did you want as your prize? He regretted that question immediately when the younger man chuckled and dropped his eyes to pale lips.
This, Xander murmured, and took Snape's lips in a hard kiss, drawing him even closer. Snape clenched his hand around solid muscle and fell into the kiss. It mimicked everything about the man holding him. Hot, hard, and slightly feral.
No, Snape.
No, there's not.
Snape is gonna bottom.
Yes.
I
don't think there's actually sex ever in this fic. He knew Xander wasn't a werewolf, but no one had fully explained what had happened to change him from a one-eyed carpenter to the half-wild watcher who served the elite slayers of the council. Magic, they had said, but it was no magic he knew of. He opened his mouth to Xander's insistent tongue, and all thought fled. This is Willow. Do you want to be Willow?
Yes, I love Willow. She's Jewish. Willow. Oh, Xander. Stop it.
Jewish
Sorry.
mom. Timon.
Stop it. It wouldn't actually be that bad, the slightly fey redhead offered. Snape turned to scowl at the foreign witch. What, pray tell, wouldn't be too bad? He asked, and again decided he should really stop talking to these people, as he always said precisely the wrong thing. Xander! Willow smiled. Snape drew in a sudden breath, memories of a hard body pressed tight, a hot mouth opening his own and drowning in sensation. What is he? He demanded. Xander? Willow asked, eyes wise. Human, of course. Oh, well, he is human. It's just that, well, he got possessed a couple of times. Then there was also the swim team thing, and Dracula thralled him, so when we did the big thing to get his eye back, Giles says that all the marks on his aura reacted, so it's almost like he's a primal soldier, slightly fishy, nearly vampire kind of thing. But still human, she added earnestly.
Yeah, still human.
Snape glared at the girl. How in Merlin's name did the boy ever survive? Willow shrugged, smiling. Giles thinks the Hellmouth liked him. The Hellmouth. Snape felt like giving up. Well, it would explain how he also survived being hit by a troll hammer and me trying to end the world. That voice died in my mouth. Willow shrugged.
She's just like, oh.
The Hellmouth is not sentient, Snape argued, as if to a small child. Willow blinked. And? I don't know what that voice is anymore. Snape did actually give up at that point and stalked off. He comes with a good reputation, Willow called after him. He had been hiding, but he realized his attempt had failed when he felt rough fingertips trail up the side of his neck. The hand moved. Oh, jeez. I don't like. The hand moved further up to tangle in his hair.
Why is it the first thing you touched?
Well, his hunter moved closer to press his body against Snape and wrap his arm around his waist.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my waist is down there.
I was getting down there, but you are going to stop for me.
No.
Okay. Missing me? Xander whispered in his ear.
Trying to, Snape admitted sourly. Okay.
Someone would think you didn't want me to pursue you,
Ugh.
Xander murmured into the side of Snape's neck. Snape sternly suppressed a shudder.
someone would be right.
Truly, Xander rumbled before biting Snape's neck gently. Snape couldn't suppress his soft gasp and tried desperately not to melt back into the man holding him. He ground his teeth.
I am not interested in a relationship, he decided. He decided. Okay. Xander spun him in his arms and pushed him into the wall.
You do not think it is wise to have a relationship, Xander corrected. I said that really weird. You don't think it's wise to have a relationship, Xander corrected.
It's fine.
You think it's dangerous to have a relationship, and that anyone joined you would automatically become a target for him, let alone being a symbol for derision from the masses. What you forget is that I've had a target painted on my back since I was 16 years old, and I don't care about the masses. My family knows and approves, and that is all I care about. Aw. It's touching. So touching.
He would kill you, Snape argued. No. He would torture you endlessly, doing the worst he could think of before allowing the mercy of death.
So we don't make it public, Xander countered immediately. I am capable of discretion, you know, he added with a half-smile. Snape tried to hold on to his arguments, his reasons to avoid this dark and vital man of the vari-colored eyes. But he recalled all the times Xander had approached him, and how it was never with an audience, how he'd already stood against Death Eaters, and was earning a fearsome reputation as a killer of their kind.
It's better than yours.
Warded by the Red Witch, guarded by Slayers, and never unarmed, Xander was becoming someone only the highest-ranking Death Eaters even contemplated meeting, lest they end in bloody pieces that not even their wands could rectify. He did not fight fair, but instead aimed for their wands with his first blow. Snape had a sudden image of the man before him facing Bellatrix, both almost darkly beautiful, and neither sane in the strictest sense, and shuddered. Xander smirked and pressed harder against him. Thinking about me, he rumbled into Snape's ear. Stop that!
Yes, Snape gasped. Yes, Snape gasped. He closed his eyes and gritted his teeth. It would be so easy to just...
Give in, Xander insisted.
Yes, Snape sighed.
That's not sorry.
And opened his mouth to Xander's sudden, incessant kiss. He lifted a hand to tangle in dark chestnut hair and surrendered. Wow.
I was going to say chest hair for a second.
To the window, to the walnut, to the swept down your ballnut. And surrendered to the younger man when he woke the next morning half covered by hard-bodied man. He smiled to realize there was now one less weight in his life. And that is the end of the first chapter, but we will proceed directly into chapter 2.
And I'm apparently start reading.
Yeah, because I gave it to you.
It's my word anyways. Chapter 2. Just what the hell do you think you're doing here? Severus looked around the vast, empty area. The only other person there was Xander Harris, of the multicolored eyes and the almost animalistic demeanor. In the middle of that paragraph.
I'm not sure, he returned absently. I would have thought I was dead, but you're here. He focused on the man standing before him, untamed and furious. Tell me you're not dead, he demanded desperately.
A bit more emotion in that, maybe. Tell me you're not dead.
Alan Rickman. Xander snorted and shook his head.
Like a dog. Not quite, but we will be if we remain here. Severus blinked.
Blink, blink. I am quite certain I don't understand what's going on. I'm dead, he added firmly. I know it. Nagini bit me. Images flashed through his head of the great snake launching at him, and his hand flew to his neck and came away clean. I don't understand. Explain, he demanded. Xander sighed.
We are between, but we can't stay here. We have to either go forward or back, and I can't go forward. Will won't let me, and I'm not going back alone. Cerberus chuckled a little, disbelievingly.
What the fuck happened? Willow won't let you? I know she's powerful.
And the last time she lost someone she loved as much as she loves me, she nearly ended the world, Xander explained, scowling. Granted, I'm not her lover, but we've been friends nearly all our lives. She is not letting me go so easy, and I'm not letting you go.
But Xander grabbed Severus's hand in a tight grip and stepped closer, green and brown eyes becoming... You know, hazel. What they're describing is typically considered hazel. The mixture of green and brown.
One might be green, the other might be brown.
Xander has one eye at this point.
No, they used a spell to return his eye, which is why he's all Dampier-like, which is this...
Oh, that was definitely a plot point that I read. Wow. Uh-huh. So, green and brown eyes becoming the sum of Severus's
Xander's eyes are
existence.
usually just brown, I think. But then the hyena might be the green. Wake up, Xander growled. Severus woke with a start and began coughing. Probably not best to take a sharp breath upon spontaneously resuscitating. He touched his hand to his neck and felt the blood, but the wound itself was gone. He had to wonder if it was Willow's magic or something inherent in Xander himself. Xander! Severus launched himself to his feet and scrambled out of the building. Once outside, he turned back in disgust.
Ugh.
How ignominious. Ignominious? I don't know. It's a word that I know of also, but also have never actually
Said.
read. Yeah.
Solid.
Ignominious? I don't know. To be killed in the shrieking shack of all things. He shook off the thought and ran back to Hogwarts. He slowed as he approached what remained of the great school with trepidation. He had been ousted from the school quite firmly, even if in the absence of his lover and the rest of the Slayers group. He had no idea what had happened as a result, but he was quite certain he was not welcome here. Nevertheless, Xander was here. He knew it, and the damned boy had better be alive. The doors flew open, and he was enveloped and hoisted aloft by strong arms. He flailed momentarily until his hands landed on broad shoulders, and he looked down into beloved, variegated eyes. That's me, I think.
Yeah, actually, I was like, what?
Yeah, I just saw words, I'm like, I'm reading, so you're probably next. Welcome back, Xander growled, pulling him into a hard kiss. Welcome finally out of the way, Severus looked around to see his lover's friends surrounding them, his former colleagues a little beyond the tight group. Now it's you.
What happened? He demanded. Willow frowned furiously at her lifetime friend. Someone stepped into a killing curse! Severus gasped, and then shook Xander. What the hell were you thinking? He demanded. Xander shrugged and smirked.
It tickled, and I figured, after Willow, it wouldn't take me anywhere I didn't want to go. He stepped back and straightened his eyes growing dark. I felt you go, Sev, he added in a low voice. I felt you leave me, and I couldn't let that happen.
That sounds rapey. I'm sorry. That sounds rapey to me.
Oh, the battery's low.
It's fine.
But it's just the voice as you say, I felt you die, and I couldn't let that happen.
So the great idiot walked into a killing curse. Oh.
Willow.
So the great idiot walked into a killing curse without even consulting me, Willow added, and the deep pain was evident for anyone to see. She raised a hand to cradle Xander's cheek. You were lucky, she added. What I did to you did change you, but not enough to defeat a killing curse, not entirely. You're lucky I was there and could steer the magic. I don't understand, Severus frowned. I tried to kill him, Willow sighed, years ago now, and I have mentioned it before. When I tried to burn the world, again he stepped into the flow of magic. I was throwing everything I had into raising Prospecta, and he just walked straight into it. I mocked him inside and out that day, and that's part of how he defeated the Hex. It hit the part of him that I created and bounced, I guess. I'm becoming southern. I was able to get him and redirect the power
This isn't
that
very
had
Jewish
been
mob
used.
anymore.
He used it to revive the pair of you. She smiled. Severus reached forward and shook Xander hard. You ever do that again, and I'll find you somehow, and I'll punish you.
Ooh, kinky. Kinky. Xander smirked. In the meantime, aren't we in the middle of a battle? Severus looked around, again, and noticed the lack of active fighting. I'll be Buffy. He needs a makeover called an armistice. Buffy shrugged. We're supposed to hand over the boy wonder, but that won't be happening. Severus nodded and looked, finally, at the people he was. Is that
your Sarah Michelle Gellar impersonation?
No.
I was going to say, because I wasn't trying to impersonate Allison Hannigan, but...
I was just doing, like, your stupid, I don't know, voice.
Oh.
Severus nodded and looked finally at the people he once called friends? Allies, at the very least.
That is a blinking battery dying button.
It was like that since its
Minerva, he began. The council is adamant you remain our friend, Severus, Minerva interrupted severely. I do not see how that is possible, but they insist to the point of removing their support if we do not believe in them. And at this point in the war, I'm not sure we could survive that. Severus held himself stiffly for a moment, then bowed to the woman.
Bowed.
I will endeavor not to disappoint you again, he offered. Minerva nodded and grimaced. Well, she huffed. Are we to sit about and have a tea party? I believe we have a battle to plan. And with that she whirled and stalked back into the castle. Xander slung his arm around Severus's shoulders. You need to read.
Come on, he grinned. She's right. Plus, I can't wait to see the look on old Volder's and little Bella's faces when they see both of us alive and kicking.
Fuck you. It was Bellatrix, Severus gasped.
That did not sound like a question.
Bellatrix.
Yeah, you can't blame her, Xander nodded. She was aiming for Faith, I think. Of course, Faith wasn't actually there by the time the hex would have hit, but that's what she was trying to do. Severus growled. This battle would be the final one, and he would have his pound of flesh from that woman. Or maybe he would just sit back and watch Xander and her duel properly, see if reality matched up to fantasy. He smirked at the thought. They were together again, finally, and the war was very nearly over. He had a feeling that Xander's little escapade had removed any limits the red-haired Wiccan had placed on herself, and she would see to Voldemort's end, if nothing else. The end was in sight, and he might even live to see it. A much better ending than any previous he'd considered, and infinitely better than the lonely death, gazing into Lily's son's eyes. The shack, too embarrassing for words, and best forgotten.
Oh, bloody hell, Severus muttered when Xander eyed him quizzically. He went on. I gave Potter my memories. Xander snorted and shook his head, grinning. Severus sighed. Yet another thing to explain away.
And that's the end.
Whoa! That was so we finished.
Yeah.
Hooray. That was a fic. We read a fic. Snape was the implied bottom.
Yes.
Yikes. Picture that in your head. Xander and Snape doing the...
Are there a couple other ones I've read of that pairing?
I don't want to know.
I don't know. There's plenty of, like, Buffy, Harry Potter crossovers.
Oh, of course. It's, like, the perfect thing to cross over.
Like, not Harry. Or, yeah, Harry and Xander can be related, or Xander's Sirius's son, or something.
Cries.
Xander's a secret wizard. No, he's
Just
not a secret
cries.
wizard, but he's, like... Oh, he didn't know he was a wizard.
Rolls eyes, cries. Because the battery is dying, because I'm a professional who keeps his equipment fully charged, you're welcome, Internet. I'm going to speed this up. I'm going to say that I was okay with this fic. Again, because I'm lame and awful, and I give the same rating to fucking everything. This gets
3.
This gets 3 steak wands out of 5 steak wands. How many steak wands do you give this one?
4.
4.
I usually stick with 4.
So this is our average. It was a pretty okay fic. Would have loved to have seen more Buffy. I love Buffy. She's like...
There's like one line, and it was maybe like,
She's my hero.
It's just like, I don't know, it's just like, we'll just...
Boy Wonder. Whatever.
He wants to stand up for the Boy Wonder, so
It's something like that.
that's
Hercules.
Well, that's not
So, yes, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed already,
up.
be sure to subscribe because we have awesome new content coming out every week. If you have a suggestion, please leave it down below. We will read it.
Yeah.
And,
this one actually turned out better than other ones. Our reading, I think.
Hey.
Anyways, yes.
And yeah, I forget what I normally say, but until next time, stay awesome, read more smut, and we will see you next week with more awesome fanfiction nonsense.
And prepare for the Christmas special.
Bye.
Bye.